You are listening to Brayford Radio. This recording was originally broadcast on the 26th of May 2016. For copyright reasons, this audio has been edited to remove any music being played during the show. We hope you enjoy the recording of Formula Tom, with me, Tom Cairns, and Martin Bulbrook. Good evening and welcome to Formula Tom on Brayford Radio. Joining me tonight is Martin Bulbrook, where him and I will be discussing our build-up to the Monaco Grand Prix that is coming up this weekend. Don't forget you can be involved in the conversation via Twitter, sending your tweets at Brayford Radio. Alternatively, you can send us a message or a post via the Facebook page of Formula Tom, and we'll share your thoughts as the show goes on. So good evening, Martin.
Good evening, Tom.
Thank you. And first of all, Monaco. Glamorous setting for a Grand Prix, for any Grand Prix, would you say?
Yes, very glamorous. Obviously, we all know the life of the rich is Monaco, so it's always a lovely setting.
And, we've talked about the incident involving the Mercedes drivers in Barcelona. Do you think that's a blip, or is that a sign of things to come for later in the season?
I personally think it's just a blip. I think, obviously, it was due to happen at some point, because they both want to be the best. It's due to happen, but I can't see it being a constant thing. I think it's just going to be a one-off.
With Ferrari coming close in Barcelona, with both drivers of Kimi Raikkonen and Sebastian Vettel finishing on the podium, can Ferrari finally win the season now that Red Bull have shown that they've got the pace to challenge for victories?
I can't see Ferrari winning this weekend, especially after practice today. They looked a bit sluggish. But I think sooner or later they have got to win the race because, as you said, Vettel's had 3 podiums this season, Raikkonen's had 3 podiums, so they're certainly up there. It's just getting that first place, it just seems to step a little bit too far at the minute.
If we have a look at the tyre allocations that were released last week, with the Ultrasoft making its debut in Formula 1 this weekend, we have to say it's quite a humongous quantity for all the drivers going for the Ultrasofts, especially for those who have gone for 10 sets of the Ultrasofts, including the 2 Mercedes drivers, the 2 Red Bull drivers, and Magnussen. Has that surprised you?
The Mercedes, no, because I know pre-season testing, they really liked the Ultrasoft. I remember an interview of Hamilton and he said the car was running really well on the Ultrasofts. The others, I hadn't seen any of them saying that they've really liked the Ultrasofts, but obviously the tyre runs well on Monaco.
Paul di Resta came out during the practice session this morning, because the practice sessions in Monaco take place on Thursday rather than the Friday, because apparently it's meant to be like a sort of bank holiday on the Friday in Monaco. But Paul di Resta came out saying that the Ultrasofts should last about 20 laps, which is sort of the similar kind of durability, if that's a word, to the Supersofts that we had last year. Because how long did you thought that the Ultrasofts were going to last? Like 10-15 laps or something like that?
Yeah, 10-15 laps. Obviously, if it is a proper circuit, I wouldn't even expect it to last 10 laps. I'd expect it to last single figures. Obviously, coming to Monaco, much short of laps, so you expect an increase in number. But I wouldn't have expected anywhere near 20 laps off the Ultrasofts.
With Red Bull, they confirmed that Ricciardo would be running the upgraded Renault engine, the Tag Heuer branded. That's an engine branded by Renault. That he'd be running that this weekend, unlike Verstappen. But whilst I was listening to Max Verstappen's interview, he said that the decision was already made even before Barcelona, because everybody would be thinking, oh, why hasn't Verstappen got that engine? He won the last race, but the interview seems to have made sense because Ricciardo is the lead driver of that team.
Yeah, and obviously Ricciardo, he might not have the victory like Verstappen, but look at his race results this year. He's been very consistent. Obviously, he's up there with the pack, and the better engine might push him on to finally get on that podium.
But what about McLaren though? Because Monaco could be a circuit for them, because slow corners seems to be more of a strength for them, because we know they're not fast in a straight line, but can the slow corners of Monaco really come to their game to maybe get into Q3?
Yeah, I think so. Obviously, Monaco's got the most amount of slow corners out of any track in the race calendar, just because of the pure fact the way it's set out. Obviously, they are very good on the slow corners. Other teams don't tend to focus on the slow corners as much as straight line speed. So, with all that playing into account, I certainly think they can improve and certainly maybe both cars pick up points.
And of course, this is the first Monaco Grand Prix since the death of Jules Bianchi, who passed away last year, 9 months after that horrific accident in Suzuka the year before. Some drivers have paid their respects, including Romain Grosjean, of course, his compatriot to Jules Bianchi. He's paying tribute to the Frenchman who effectively kept what's known as Manor Russia in Formula 1 with that 9th place finish at for the team. Can maybe Romain Grosjean, because the races that Grosjean failed to score in, he started 14th on the grid. 20 years ago in the Monaco race, Olivier Panis, who was the last Frenchman to win a Grand Prix, started in the Ligier car from 14th. Can maybe Grosjean coincide that with a 14th place grid spot and then win the race from there?
Well, maybe. Obviously, we saw what Grosjean can do from his first race this season. Fantastic race. So why not? Might just be in the French blood.
What about the drivers like Nico Hülkenberg? Because Monaco is not necessarily a good circuit for him in the past, but can maybe Force India finally be amongst those finishing the points?
I'm not 100% sure. I certainly think that obviously Force India, they need to be up there finishing in the points regularly. They've been around a long while now and they need to be regularly scoring points. Hülkenberg, fantastic driver, hasn't had the best start to the season, but not sure if they can do it this week. But certainly this season, I think they'll start becoming regulars.
Just remind you of the championship standings. Nico Rosberg is in the lead on 100 points, 39 points ahead of Kimi Raikkonen on 61. Then it's Lewis Hamilton, who is in third with 57. Then it's Vettel and Ricciardo tying for fourth with 48 points apiece. Then it's Verstappen, who moves up to sixth with that excellent victory in Barcelona. He's on 38. Then it's Massa, 36. Then Bottas, who's his teammate, on 29. Kvyat is ninth with 22, with Grosjean also on 22 in 10th position. So with the Red Bulls, because from what I saw in the practice sessions, they seem to be well and truly on the pace in comparison to previous races, especially with Ricciardo with that upgraded engine.
Yeah, they certainly do look fast this weekend. I think it's going to be a very good weekend for them. I think the main thing for Red Bull is keep both cars on the track.
Just going further down on the standings, Sainz is 11th with 12, although talking much of Carlos Sainz, he might set some competitive times on the soft tyre, the hardest compound, which is on, in the top 10 in that first practice session. So could we maybe see some genuine pace from that Toro Rosso car, even with Sainz and Kvyat?
Yeah, I certainly think so. Obviously, Carlos Sainz had a great race last week, 2 weeks ago as well. So he's loving the car at the minute. He's getting real pace out of it, and as you said, they've certainly been up there in this practice session. And I can't see why they can't go on and push for really good points this race.
And Alonso, who's in 12th with 8 points, then it's Perez with 8 as well. Then it's Magnussen, the only Renault driver to have scored this season. He's on 6, with Hülkenberg also on 6. Then it's Button with 3 and Van Dorn with 1, leaving only 6 drivers, including Jolyon Palmer, Gutierrez, Ericsson, Verline, Nauser and Haryanto yet to score. Can we see them break their duck anytime soon with a points finish, maybe in Monaco?
I personally don't think so. I think the problem is not that they're bad drivers. I think the problem is the cars at the top end are just too good, because obviously you got the 2 Red Bulls, the 2 Mercedes, 2 Ferrari. You expect them most weeks to be finishing the top 6. Then you've got the 2 Williams, who are very consistent this season, 7th and 8th, quite often getting that 6th, 5th sort of spot. You've got the Force India's very good team. You've got the Toro Rossos this season proving to be very good. And I just don't think there's the room for these drivers to get into the points.
Just going to the constructors' standings at the moment, despite Mercedes not scoring, they are on 157 points, 48 points clear of Ferrari on 109. Then it's Red Bull in third with 94, so they've got a great opportunity with the pace they're showing at the moment, so maybe overtake Ferrari into second. Then it's Williams with 65 in fourth, Toro Rosso in fifth with 26, and it's Haas on 22, with Force India on 14, McLaren in 8th on 12, then it's Renault with 6, leaving only Sauber and Monaco yet to score this season. And my mum just came in with a post or a comment, or however you want to put it, saying that the oldest driver ever to compete in the Monaco Grand Prix was a local guy of 56. Michael Schumacher retired at 43. Kimi and Jensen are the oldest current drivers. Do you think either of them will come close to retiring at a similar age to Schumacher? Not the 56-year-old local guy from Monaco.
No, I don't think so. Obviously, there's so much demand on the body when racing around the track. Each race, their body's taking a battering because they lose so much weight and everything. And I just think, obviously, Schumacher's was a phenomenal record, and I just can't see him getting close to it.
For you folks to share your thoughts for the Monaco Grand Prix or any topic you want us to discuss, then do please tweet in at Brayford Radio. Alternatively, you can message or send us a post via the Facebook page of Formula Tom. And here's your first question of the evening, and the question is, since Graham Hill in 1969, how many times has an Englishman won the Monaco Grand Prix? I'll repeat the question again. Since Graham Hill in 1969, how many times has an Englishman won the Monaco Grand Prix? Okay, an Englishman. The answer will be given to you after Pendulum's Propane Nightmares. This is Tom Cairns on Formula Tom. You're listening to Brayford Radio. And that was Propane Nightmares by Pendulum. That is a brilliant, brilliant tune. Great to dance to. The question we asked before we left was, since Graham Hill in 1969, how many times has an Englishman won the Monaco Grand Prix? Did you have a guess?
Yeah, I guess 4. I think Hamilton's won it twice, Button once, and Damon Hill once. And my dad messaged in and he said twice.
I can tell you the answer is twice. So very, very well done to Mr. Bulbuck back home. If you want to know the two occasions that an Englishman has won the Monaco Grand Prix, Lewis Hamilton in 2008 for McLaren and Jenson Button in 2009 for Braun GP. Okay, if you're thinking of David Coulthard or Jackie Stewart, they're not English. If they're not English, who are they? Yeah, they are Scottish. Thank you. Yeah, so David Coulthard and Jackie Stewart don't count because they are Scottish. Okay, so it's because I said Englishman in the question, not British. So, moving on, talking which of English, okay, we want to have a look at an English team who have been in Formula 1 over the past near 4 decades, and that is Williams. How have you rated Williams during their time overall in Formula 1? Because they've had success and not such success.
Yeah, they've certainly been. They had many years of having great success, then they died off a bit, and then their current state, obviously, they're sort of up there, but they're not getting like wins and stuff. They're just a mid-table sort of team. But overall, I think Williams have done phenomenal for the F1 scene as a whole. And
what about when they started winning? They've won 7 drivers' titles and 9 constructors' championships. With the likes of Jones, Rosberg, Piquet, Mansell, Prost, Hill and Villeneuve, all those that have won championships with the Williams team. But how would you say they compare to the competition? Because, the Renault engine's been very instrumental to the success, like in the early 90s, for example.
Yeah, it has. Obviously, they've had, as you can see, you can list off loads and loads of big name drivers that Williams have had through the years. And as you said, they've won. They've been there. They've won the stuff. They're a proven team. Would I say they're as big as Ferrari have been? Maybe not quite, but they are certainly big. So,
and just remember, Williams have only won once in the past 12 years. They've only won one race that came in Barcelona in 2012 when Pastor Maldonado took victory for them. The last victory before that was in 2004, where Juan Pablo Montoya won in the season finale in Interlagos, Brazil. They've secured 128 pole positions, 242 podium finishes, and 3,403 points. So I know we've had changes with the point system, but what about they're going for points, because points is what they want to achieve, which has been their goal since the Martini partnership in 2014.
Yeah, obviously, as you said, they've had a phenomenal amount of points, and so rightfully so. They're a big team, probably the best English team we've had, and yeah, they are they are certainly been scoring points.
Clay Regazzoni took Williams' first victory in 1979 in Silverstone, and as I mentioned before, the drivers who've won championships, so Alan Jones, KK Rosberg and Nelson Piquet and all those. And looking at the other drivers that are on there, ones that have not won championships, but on there you can see the likes of Ralf Schumacher, who's won all of his 6 Formula 1 races with them. You've got Riccardo Patrese, who was teammates with Mansell when won the championship in 1992. Then you've got Nico Rosberg, who made his debut with the team. He spent his first 4 years in Formula 1 with Williams. Then you've got Juan Pablo Montoya, as I've already mentioned. Then you've got Damon Hill, who won the championship in 1996. He won every race apart from one of his 22 victories with the team. Then you've got Valtteri Bottas, who has only got 8 podium finishes to his name, but I'm pretty sure that elusive first victory will come anytime soon. Then you've got Pastor Maldonado, you've also got Jacques Lafitte, Rubens Barrichello, Kazuki Nakajima, Mark Webber drove for the team, Heinz-Harald Frentzen, he drove for the Williams team in 97 and 98. You've got Thierry Boutsen, Carlos Reutemann, Nelson Piquet, David Coulthard, Bruno Senna, Nico Hulkenberg drove for the team in 2010, and of course Jenson Button. He drove for the Williams team in his first year in 2000. Do any of these names spring to mind?
Pablo Montoya and Damon Hill certainly spring to mind because there's my dad's biggest 2 favourite drivers. Obviously both phenomenal drivers, really made a name at Williams. They were great drivers. Also obviously Button, I didn't know that he actually started at Williams. He's gone on to become a great driver. He's been around for what seems like ever of recent. And then you also got like David Coulthard. He was a great driver. He might not have been as successful as other drivers, but everyone knows him. He was a great driver. Everyone knows of his name. And
if Valtteri Bottas was to score 15 points at least this weekend, he would break Nigel Mansell's record for the most number of points as a Williams driver. Yeah, so if he gets on the podium, he's broken the record. He's Williams' all-time point scorer, but we have to bear in mind about the point systems we've had over the years. But so can you see maybe Massimo Bottas get any close to the Red Bulls or the Ferraris at least?
I certainly think Bottas will. Obviously, maybe not this race. He might not score the 15 points this race, but he's certainly going to get it this season because the Williams, they're the definition of consistency this season. They are very, very consistent.
And what about, we've had Felipe Massa, of course, Paul di Resta, who is the Williams test driver. Can we see Paul di Resta in that seat? Well, maybe not necessarily in the Williams seat, but perhaps in the future when he's got funds to help him earn a crucial race seat, maybe back in that Force India.
Yeah, I certainly think di Resta is going to get a race seat at some point, maybe next year, maybe the year after, not 100% sure, but he's a fantastic talent. I can't see there being any room in Williams drivers. I can't see why they'd want to get rid of them. They're both performing well. Maybe, I don't know, Bottas might get picked up from a different team. That would be about the only reason I could see. I can't see Massa going anywhere. He's fairly old now, getting on a bit. I think he's settled down and I think he's going to start Williams to the end of his career.
And we just got a tweet in from at Trophy Gem. Do you think Lewis Hamilton can kick-start his season this weekend, as he's only won at Monaco once before?
Yes, I do. I think Lewis Hamilton's going to have a very good race this weekend. I've got him down as finishing first in my Badger GP, which we'll talk about later.
Yeah. I don't know about Hamilton. I mean, obviously we knew what happened last year when what we'd like to maybe call the pit stop sort of saga that occurred in the closing stages of that race whilst the safety car came out because of Verstappen's coming together with Romain Grosjean. But I don't know, it's a difficult one for me because Hamilton wants to win this race so much and win it with Mercedes, but I just don't feel, because even though he was on the pace today, I just think Rosberg might have the edge to perhaps get that crucial pole position in qualifying, because unlike any other race, pole position is very, very important for Monaco, with it being very, very difficult to overtake. So, I don't know. I mean, Monaco has not really been the happiest of hunting grounds because they've only won once in Monaco since 1983. Rosberg won in 83, but Juan Pablo Montoya has been the only Williams driver to take victory in Monaco, which came in 2003 when we had that 3-car finish ahead of Raikkonen and Schumacher. So Williams have not really had that much success, so they've just got to hope for misfortune really from the likes of Red Bull, Ferrari or even Mercedes to get a great result to catch either Red Bull or Ferrari in the Constructors' Championship. And if you guys have any thoughts on Williams or anything that we've been discussing so far, then do please tweet in at Brayford Radio or send us a message or post on the Facebook page of Formula Tom. For now though, here is your second question of the evening, which is, which actor played James Hunt in the 2013 making of Rush? I'll repeat the question again. Which actor played James Hunt in the 2013 making of Rush? The answer will be given after Just a Day by Feeder. This is Tom Kent on Formula Tom. You are listening to Brayford Radio. And that was Just a Day by Feeder. Do you remember which game this was in, Martin?
No, I don't. I know it's a game from my childhood, which I played quite a few times, but I cannot remember the game.
It was Gran Turismo 3. That was used for the title sequence of that game. The question we asked before we left was, which actor played James Hunt in the 2013 making of Rush? What did you go for, Martin?
I went for Chris Hemsworth.
I can tell you, you are absolutely right. Of course it's Chris Hemsworth, who is known for his character play as Thor in the Thor series. So very well done if you got Chris Hemsworth. We've got a tweet in from @TrophiesGem, and he's just come out saying, thunderstorms forecast for Sunday in Monaco. Who do you think will do well if it rains?
I personally think Lewis Hamilton, as obviously Lewis Hamilton's got a good track record in the wet. Also last time it was wet in Monaco, Lewis Hamilton was the winner as well. So I think Lewis Hamilton will stand a very good chance if it's a wet track. I
thought, 1996, it was dry for qualifying, but in the race it was wet. And obviously it's 20 years since the last Frenchman to win a Grand Prix. Olivier Panis won from 14th on the grid. So I was just thinking, what if Romain, what I said about Grosjean, who the only races that he's failed to score this season being 14th on the grid.
Yeah.
Can he win from 14th on the grid for Monaco? And you thought, if it does rain, there's a more possibility if it rains on Sunday than it would be if it was dry. It's that time of the show, Martin. It is time for exactly that. What are you thinking for this weekend?
I've gone with Lewis Hamilton first, and then I've gone for Red Bull 2 second and third, with Raikkonen being second and Vettel being third.
I've gone for Rosberg to win. Raikkonen is going to come close again, I think, second, and Verstappen, I think, is going to come in third position. For Rosberg, I think he's going to get the hat-trick like he did in Russia. I think he's going to get pole position, fastest lap in the race win. I've put Marcus Ericsson as my first retiree, and I believe there will be 2 safety cars. For the other predictions?
I've gone Lewis Hamilton for the triple of being first place, fastest lap and pole position. For the first one out, I think I've gone for Haryanto. For safety cars, I've gone 2, but I have had a slight variation with my top 3. I am very debating in third place having Ricciardo and not Vettel, as I think Ricciardo with the new engine will do very well. And
I was just reminded that over the last 13 races in Monaco, 11 of those have featured a safety car. So if you think about your predictions for the weekend, the safety cars one will be a good tip. The top 3, it's crucial, because if you get all 3, I think you get a bonus 10 points. So you get 25 points. Because you get 5 points for every prediction, but if you get all 3, I think you get an extra 10. So I'm just begging, because my predictions in Barcelona were completely wrecked by the incident with the Mercedes. I'm just hoping that I get some predictions in there to get some points on the board and stay in touch with the others. And just to remind you of the predictions in the Formula Tom League on Badger GP. Honey Badger GP brings up the rear with 409, then it's Team Jedi with 501, Red Bull Dog GP's 5th with 535, then it's Ken's Racing with 543, Delta F1 is 3rd with 551, then it's Team Martin in 2nd on 600, and in the lead still with 676 is Mark's Mercedes GP. How do you think if you do outscore Mark's Mercedes GP, how much by? Because I think he's more of a Mercedes guy, so you've got to hope that maybe the Mercedes struggle a little bit again for you to close the gap. Because you've got the Ferraris and Red Bulls, I think, haven't you?
Yeah, I've got the Ferraris and the Red Bulls on my pit wall, obviously. Yeah, as you say, I think he is a very Mercedes guy. I think that's how he's getting most of his points, because obviously Mercedes dominated quite a few of the opening races. But yeah, I think if it does happen, hopefully Hamilton gets first, because that's my prediction as well. But then Rosberg don't finish as high, and the Red Bulls and Ferraris are finishing before him, because then overall I think I'm then scoring more points.
Yeah, I've not made any changes since the unlimited sort of period came to an end, so I'm pretty much saving my free changes for a little while until I feel like a change is needed to be made. For example, if Hamilton doesn't find his feet anytime soon, I'll probably have to switch him to Rosberg, because you only have like a limited budget. I think it's £75 million to use for your pit wall, so your 3 teams and your 3 drivers, and Hamilton and Rosberg are like very, very expensive. I think it's something like, what is it, 14 million, something like that each?
No, I looked earlier actually. Rosberg's 20 million and Hamilton's 23 million.
Yeah, I mean, it's decisions. You know, I mean, this goes to the rest of you who are involved in the league, and I can't really decide. I'm going to give it maybe 1 or 2 more races, and if Hamilton doesn't pick it up, then I'll have to swap into Rosberg, because Rosberg has been on fire so far this year. I'm looking at the circuit layout for Monaco. There's only one DRS zone, which takes place on the start-finish straight. They did consider putting it in the tunnel, but for safety reasons they decided not to. But one significant change that I managed to pick up during the practice sessions this morning, Martin, was on the exit of the swimming pool, so turns 15 and 16, before Larascas. Instead of like a sharp right and left chicane, they've made that right bend a little bit more blunt, instead of being sharp, so it's like a blunt right and sharp left. So how will that play into the hands of drivers when they're trying to overtake someone, or in fact if they go even faster around that chicane?
Well, I think the problem they're going to have now is obviously you're coming in quite fast and into 15. With it not being as sharp, you can brake that slightly bit later. But then you've got to remember that you're coming into a very sharp left-hand corner straight after. So instead of... Now you can brake late and try and overtake that way, but instead of having to brake at the same sort of time for the sharp corner and then getting a better traction out of the corner. So I think you're going to see more overtaking coming into the corner and round 15 than you are like coming out of 16 like previously.
And this is very, very rare. We come out with practice results because it's the only time of the year where practice sessions take place on a Thursday, because of Friday being like a bank holiday for those who are residents in Monaco. The first practice session ended with Hamilton and Rosberg, unsurprisingly, a 10th separating the two. Then it was Sebastian Vettel, third for Ferrari, Ricciardo, Verstappen, Kvyat, who was up to 6th. But you know, as we mentioned about Red Bull's pace, Ricciardo, unsurprisingly, who has the upgraded engine, he was well and truly up there in the second practice session when he went quickest out of everyone. He completed 40 laps in that second practice session in comparison to the 29 in practice 1.
Yeah, obviously he wants to wear the new engine in, he wants to get used to it, because it's last 2 weeks ago he weren't in that engine, so obviously it's going to be different, the car's going to feel different. He wants to get several laps under his belt so he's comfortable in the car, and he obviously proved that in practice, and he's doing many laps and going stupidly quick.
With Ferraris, and we mentioned about the sluggish sort of pace that they had in the second practice session. I mean, Raikkonen, who was 9th in the first practice session, and could only manage no higher than 7th in practice 2. So Ferrari have got their work cut out, really, if they're going to be challenging with Red Bull and Mercedes, really. So I think Q3 would have to be the minimum target for this weekend.
Yeah, I'd definitely say that. Never know, they might be hiding something ready for the race. We don't know, but yeah, certainly in practice 2, the pace, they was just off it. Like, the fastest Ferrari, I mean, Raikkonen, he was 1.4 seconds off Ricciardo's pace. And I believe Ricciardo probably done more laps as well than Raikkonen.
And we mentioned about drivers who have started way back on the grid, but I was just thinking about the crashes that we had in the practice sessions this morning. Obviously, Massa came to blows at Sander Fott. Jolyon Palmer had a clout with the Tabak corner, which damaged his right rear suspension. And, we've had the Manor crashing at Nouvelle Chicane. It's no surprise, but the virtual safety car, which is they changed the regulation this year about using virtual safety car in practice sessions. That's very, very much been an ideal usage in the practice sessions as opposed to just stopping the session all the time.
Yeah, we spoke before the show went live about it, that we feel like the virtual safety car is doing a fantastic job. It's keeping the racing going. It's not stopping, starting. It's letting the drivers still race, keep it competitive, as well as bringing in that aspect of extra safety.
What about? I was just thinking about because Massa because he only completed 10 laps before he had that accident at Sandevort in the second session. Even though he did 42 laps, he could only manage 16th fastest. I mean, Williams are well off the pace from where they need to be at the moment if they're going to be challenging for points.
Yeah, they certainly are from the practice sessions. Who knows? As we said, they've probably been the most consistent team all season. They've been finishing around 5th, 6th, that sort of area most of the season. They've been very consistent, but yeah, these results show that they don't seem on the pace this week.
And whilst me and Martin have been discussing our predictions for the Monaco Grand Prix this weekend, you guys can be involved in the conversation via Twitter at Brayford Radio, along with answering our third and final question for this evening. And the question is, when was Ferrari's last win in Monaco? Okay, when was Ferrari's last win in Monaco? The answer will be given after Go Lay It Out by Oasis. This is Tom Cairns on Formula Tom. You are listening to Brayford Radio. And that was Go Lay It Out by Oasis. The question we asked was, when was Ferrari's last win in Monaco? Did you go for an answer, Martin?
Well, I certainly thought it was Schumacher. Couldn't quite remember what year. I went for 2002, and my dad messaged and he also went Schumacher, but 2001.
I can tell you the answer is 2001. That was Michael Schumacher's victory in Monaco. That proved to be Ferrari's last win in Monaco up to the present date. So very, very well done. If you got that question correct, once again, Mr. Bulbrook from back home. And talking of which of Ferrari, we're going to go on about the Ferrari team itself. They've been in Formula 1 in every single season. They've been going from strength to strength, really, in terms of not only winning races and winning championships, but also just maintaining their sustainability and keeping the team as a whole in the F1 sport.
Yeah, obviously, big team. Michael Schumacher is probably the poster boy for Ferrari. He's the one everyone knows. You think Michael Schumacher, you think Red, you think Ferrari. Ferrari have been a phenomenal team, still a phenomenal team. We've got two great drivers this year in Kimi Raikkonen and Vettel, both ex-World Championship champions. So yeah, they attract the big names, they are the big team. Everyone wants to go to Ferrari or Mercedes, but Ferrari probably more established. So.
And with Ferrari, they've not won a race since Singapore last year, where Sebastian Vettel took victory then. But 2014 was the first season since 1993 that Ferrari failed to win a race that season. But during their time in Formula 1, they've won 15 Drivers' Championships, so including Schumacher. He won 5 of his 7 World Championships with the team. Kimi Raikkonen, he won in 2007 with them. Then you've got Niki Lauda, who won in 75 and 77. Then you've got Mike Hawthorne, who I believe he won in 1958. He was the first British driver to win the championship with them. And also with Phil Hill, he won it in 61. In 61 that year. But do you think, with all these championships that Ferrari have won, do you think that's put him into... Do you think they're being known for the success in the sport, or is it just their participation within Formula 1, according to the fans' mind? Because if you're like my age, like 20 years of age, you think Ferrari, you think success.
Yeah, I certainly think for all years they've always been known as the team with the success. As you say, for our generation, obviously it's success. Ferrari, they are. I think it's because when we were very young, you had the Michael Schumacher years. He was dominant. Ferrari, success. We've still seen it in previous years as well, with Kimi Raikkonen winning again. Ferrari have just, I think they've always just had this symbol of being the team with success.
Well, Ferrari, they've taken part in, 914 races Ferrari competed in. Only one of those they didn't start. And they've won 15 drivers' titles, 15 constructors, as I mentioned before, and they've taken 225 race victories during that time. Schumacher obviously has the most victories with the Maranello team by far. He's on 72. The next highest driver with the most victories whilst driving for Ferrari was Niki Lauda. He's got 15. Then it's Alberto Ascari with 13. Then Felipe Massa and Fernando Alonso, who have won 11 races with the Italian team. Do you see any notable ones on that list, Martin? Particularly like Rene Arnoux, who was very much a fierce driver in late 70s, early 80s, and of course Gilles Villeneuve. You can't forget Gilles Villeneuve.
Yeah, obviously everyone's heard of him. He's a big driver. It's Ferrari. You could probably go down most of that list. Most people who have a quite regular interest in F1 will have heard of most of that people because it is Ferrari. Obviously, something which is quite surprising, but is Fernando Alonso having most points, but that's obviously due to the change in the scoring system, because obviously Michael Schumacher would outscore him by quite a long way if it is kept the same back then.
And Ferrari have also achieved 208 pole positions, the last of which that came in Singapore last year when Vettel took Ferrari's last victory. 526 podiums to date. They've got 6,672.5 points since their time. If you're wondering why the decimal is there, it's because some of the races, if not one, there've been half points awarded, because if the race leader has not completed 75% of the race and the race is suspended or finished before the 75% of the race distance, then they award half points to the points finishers. Then they've got 233 fastest laps, and they have competed in over 105,199 laps since Formula 1's inception in 1950, and they have secured 81 1-2 finishes. The last of those that came in Hockenheim in 2010, which was the team order scandal of Fernando Alonso and Felipe Massa. Do you think, looking at these points, because looking at the points now, Fernando Alonso holds the record for the most number of points for a Ferrari driver with 1,090. Then it was Schumacher with 1,066, and then all the way down it's Felipe Massa with 789. You know, we've seen drivers who are very, very, very much fierce, like Rene Arnoux, as I mentioned, but we remember these drivers who, like substitute drivers like Nicola Larini, Mika Salo. I don't know if you remember Mika Salo, who once replaced Schumacher when Schumacher had that leg injury in Silverstone. And of course Luca Badoer, you know, he drove 2 races for the Maranello team in 2009 when Felipe Massa had that accident in Hungary. But do you see any drivers like I don't know, Carlos Sainz, for example? Who do you think are the future drivers for the race seats, maybe next year or 2018?
As you say, certainly Carlos Sainz, I can see him moving up to certainly a top end team. I can't see him getting in the Red Bull team, because obviously Red Bull, they look certainly pretty set with their current lineup. Mercedes, unless Hamilton and Rosberg come to even bigger blows this season, I can't see them changing in future. Ferrari, obviously their drivers are getting on a bit now, so they might decide to retire. So I certainly think that possibly we're going to see maybe the likes of Carlos Sainz moving up into that Red Bull seat.
What about Nico Hülkenberg?
Nico Hülkenberg, I always thought he was going to go to to Ferrari, but then he didn't. Obviously he's at Force India now, not having a great season, still a top phenomenal driver, but with not having a great season, Carlos Sainz having probably, I'd say, a better season, looking more comfortable. If I had to choose between the two, I'd choose Carlos Sainz at the minute.
And I've just picked out Jean Lacey actually, because if you remember, other than Olivier Panis, he's also another Frenchman who won in Canada in 1995, which was very much an unlikely race victory, but he took his only Formula 1 victory on his 31st birthday. And of course, you and Jack were mentioning about his son, Giuliano or something like that. He's a 16-year-old who is competing in GP3 this season, so we could perhaps see the name of Jean Lacey return to Formula 1 anytime soon.
Yeah, I certainly think so. Obviously, when their dads have been big and they certainly, I don't know what it is, they have it in their genes, shall we say, and they're just made for racing, and the big teams seem to pick up some I don't know, they pick up people who have had big drivers, and yeah, I certainly think, I'm not really sure with Ferrari, because there is so many good young drivers. If the likes of can't remember his name now.
Kimi Raikkonen.
Kimi Raikkonen. With the likes of Kimi Raikkonen, they're getting old. They're going to retire. Will there be old, young genes come through? I don't know.
Well, I was just thinking actually about some old faces in F1. Eddie Irvine, I think he's the last the British driver to have driven for Ferrari, and because you remember his last season in Formula 1 was with that team before he moved to Jaguar. He came very, very close to winning the championship that year. He finished 2 points behind Mika Hakkinen in the end, which, whilst Schumacher was in hospital, so Ferrari's hopes were resting on Irvine, but he very, very nearly did it.
Yeah, he certainly did. He certainly held his own. Obviously, most of his years, he was outshined by Schumacher. Schumacher went in hospital. He had his chance. He took that chance. Yeah, he just fell short, but he didn't disgrace himself. He had a fantastic season.
And what about likes of Niki Lauda? Because obviously a lot of people know Niki Lauda on the Rush film that was released 3 years ago. But do you think now that film of Rush has lifted everyone's sort of spirits to watch Formula 1 more, or is that just sort of more of a true story remake of something that's happened?
Obviously, I thought it was a great film. I'll throw that out there first. I thought it was a very good film. I think it has, a lot of people might have gone to see it because Chris Hemsworth at the time, well, still is, massive. Everyone knows him because of Thor. A lot of people might have seen him and thought, oh, I know him, that's Thor. Should I go watch it? I'll go watch it and give it a go. So, and then you're getting a lot of neutrals going to watch an F1 film, and then if they enjoy it, they could think, oh, I want to go watch F1 now. So you so you're getting more viewers. Also, it gave a very accurate story as well of, I believe it was an actual documented story of real life events and stuff, and which was very accurate, and that would have really gone down well with F1 enthusiasts as well.
Yeah, we have to finish it there, Martin, because we are out of time. Thank you to all those that have been listening, sending your tweets and answers tonight. Unfortunately, we will not be on air again next week. However, we will keep you updated on the events that are happening there and about, including tyre allocations, Badger GP stand-ins, as well as keep you up to date of when our next show will be. With it being our last show before the European Championships take place in France next month, we thought we'd get into the spirit for England with 3 Lions by the Lightning Seeds. From me, Martin, have a good weekend and enjoy the Monaco Grand Prix, and we'll talk to you again next time. This is Tom Cairns on Formula Tom. You are listening to Brayford Radio.